skate the states, baby, do you feel me? So check it out. You seen how artists do these branded tours, playing shows across the country, and they got a crispy flyer and all that? Well, I'm thinking, yo, how can I really take that to the next level and incorporate my love of house music and skateboarding together? So that's when I tapped in with my mans, Duke, and told him about the concept. We played 2 shows, one in San Diego, one in San Francisco, but here's the catch. Between the 2 shows, we are transported entirely by bikes and skateboards. So it'd be a real life adventure. But first, we got a lift function to take care of at Bang Bang. Everyone I told about the trip said we were crazy, but at the same time, they were filled with curiosity and a little bit of excitement. So I knew we were on to something. How are we feeling, King?
Feeling great, bro.
You ready for this journey?
I think so. I don't know if my legs are, but I mentally am.
Yo.
After a sick night at Bang Bang, we picked up the bikes in San Diego, loaded up our stuff for the first time, and headed for the train for LA.
And let me just say that both Duke and I had no business, quote-unquote, bicycle touring.
Already I could feel that the bikes were way heavier and that the battery was dying way quicker than we expected. But today was supposed to be an easy little trip to Drew's brother's house in LA.
Timing couldn't have been more perfect because we got to celebrate my big bro's birthday in such a neighbor's backyard park.
The homie next door had a whole little bowl in his backyard and was kind enough to let us skate it. He was also an absolute shredder. On day 2, we load up for our first big journey.
And we were riding all the way from LA to Santa Barbara, which was literally over 100 miles.
We are way more stoked right here than we would be later on that day.
Riding through LA was long, but it was intriguing seeing all parts of the city that I've never gone through driving and riding on these back roads. After trekking up a huge hill, I saw a fruiteria man who at first I thought it was a mirage. But this delicious fruit covered with tahini was exactly what I needed to keep going. Thank God we had Apple Maps bicycle routes telling us where we could ride, and it took us along some scenic bike paths that we had all to ourselves pretty much.
Big shouts to Subway, our first charge stop on the journey. All throughout the trip, we would need to stop and charge our bike batteries because we could only get a couple hours or about 40 miles off a single charge. Charging took at least 3 to 5 hours every time. So thanks to all the hospitality of others and a massive extension cord we borrowed from Drew's brother, we charged and napped and ate at random spots all along the journey.
It always felt chill and only sketched in a few parts, but never on these country roads where we got beautiful scenery of watching produce flourish.
Here we're about halfway through the day and we're realizing how gnarly it's going to be. We are going slow to try to conserve our battery energy and trying to enjoy the view after 5 hours of biking with 6 more to go. And here we're just trudging to make it. There was a massive hill that we had to push our bikes up to get to camp the night before. So after a 15-hour journey on day 2, the Santa Barbara morning dew was the refreshment needed.
It was a weight off our shoulders getting to crash in this glamping setup when late last night I was literally about to throw up off the side of my bike. At this point, I was feeling a little unsure about what I got ourselves into and almost felt a little guilty for convincing my friend to go on this strenuous ass trip. But fortunately, it was another beautiful fall day in Santa Barbara, and that was all we needed to keep the stoke high.
This cyclist homie gave us some insight and pointers on our directions and was the first of many to tell us that our journey was insane.
The more time we spent on the road just thinking about how much further we actually have to go started to hit me that we might be just a little bit crazy for actually going through with this. soon as I got this clip and posted it up on the internet, that's when Hez really knew that we weren't playing. We were dead ass on the side of a road with no pilot car, no help, just the two of us and a vibe.
Quick charge stop in Santa Ynez where we had one of the best, definitely not food safety regulated burritos ever. The last 20 miles we took back road like farmer routes. The terrain was beautiful but rocky, and we ended up getting a flat tire on the trailer. It was an easy fix. Then we were back on the road to Lompoc where we stopped for the night.
To be real though, it did get kind of spooky when we were on that road all alone in the pitch dark with no service. Especially when we heard some rustling in the bushes, but we made it out all right.
Day 4 was more of the same: country roads, farmland, wildlife.
By this point, we were accustomed to the bikes and how to ride them in a way that they liked and got conserved the juice. It was on this leg of the journey where we passed the only other homies going on a bike packing adventure. So we had to wave to them as we passed by, and that was a wholesome, memorable moment.
Then we made it right to Pismo Beach at the perfect time. Got some nice clips at sunset. Enjoyed the views for a little bit.
It was captivating seeing parts of California you'd never drive through if you're taking this trip the conventional way.
Then we cruised down to downtown Pismo Beach area, where we went to this frozen yogurt place, charged the bikes, hung out.
The yogurt slapped, by the way. It's just what we needed. Day 5, we were dummy hyped because the Hip Can't Listen promised us a shower. But what we weren't expecting is the hot water to be out of order. Even though it was frigid, it felt amazing taking our first shower after being outdoors in the sun for the past 5 days.
Once we packed up the tent, it was time to hit the road again. But this time, headed for something we hadn't originally planned for.
Turns out it's actually illegal to ride bikes on the highway we thought we could ride up initially. And the alternative wasn't looking any better. What's going on, fam?
You know what, man? You might notice behind me there's a U-Haul. And you might be thinking to yourself, what? I thought this was the homies biking from LA to San Francisco. And that's a good question. That's a valid question. And I'll tell you why. Drew and I maybe didn't plan as best as we could have. Journey from Greenfield, from here, would be about 10 hours, like all uphill in a desolate, mountainous path. If we tried to do that, we would likely die. And we really want to play our show in San Francisco. We really want to do that. We made the call, get a little U-Haul, we're going to load up the bikes, and we're going to cruise it over to Santa Cruz, spend a few days there, skate, live it up, still biking. We've still done 300 miles on a bike, that this is what it's come to. But you know what? It's life or death in this circumstance. So we're choosing life. We're choosing U-Haul life, and it's going to be great. We're going to be able to skate more. Apologies to those who believed in us, but I still believe in us.
Even though I was a little disappointed at first, and I definitely took some convincing, as soon as we hopped in the Drew Hall, I was instantly relieved. Especially seeing how far in between towns we would have to ride with no opportunities to charge up. I felt better once we were able to slap some tunes and spooky podcasts on the car stereo, because that's the one thing that we were missing on the bike trip.
Skipping what would have been like 30 hours of biking through mountains, and we're trading it for a chill 2-hour drive to Watsonville, where we would stay for the next 2 days. It felt kind of like cheating at first, but we realized that the whole point of the trip was to skate, enjoy the views, and make some good memories. Getting the U-Haul allowed us to focus on good things, plus we truthfully wouldn't have made it to San Francisco if we hadn't got the truck. The spot was beautiful, And now we had time, for the first time since we started, to relax, enjoy the views, but most importantly, skate.
They say everything happens for a reason, and I couldn't believe that statement anymore after we got to pedaling on our epic adventure. If we didn't pull up with the Drew Hall, we wouldn't have the chance to kick it for real and skate. I did promise Duke that I would show him around to some of the best skate parks the West Coast has to offer. And while our legs were feeling like strawberry jello, the promise of a chill day was all the energy we needed to sustain our misadventures. It was a relief and honestly a godsend that we had the chance to max out, relax out, explore skate spots in Santa Cruz, not even worry about charging up the bikes, just worry about having fun. And that's what this trip was all about after all. It's a whole different vibe when we don't have to worry about where we're getting our next meal / charge in. We just get a chance to live it up. Plus the homie Rob, who was our camp host, was the actual GOAT. Mans had brewskis waiting for us upon our return and was kind enough to let us stay in the glamping tent, which was a relief because the previous night we were mad cold. So having the heater was cozy and clutch for us to get a good night's rest before the big day ahead of us. So we got up early enough to leave at exactly 5 o'clock on the dot with the goal of checking into our Airbnb before the cutoff time at midnight.
We got the sport beans now? Oh, so we got the sport beans.
The last day of the trek was absolutely insane. We started off before sunrise, and by the time the sun rose, we were on top of the Santa Cruz Mountains overlooking Los Gatos. It was so pretty, super foresty.
The road was so remote there was even a part that got shut down to a landslide or something. But luckily we were able to hop the barriers, keep on trucking along these mountain bike paths that the maps took us on.
We were exhausted, but couldn't believe how close we were. Plus, it was a perfect day for our last 80 miles to San Francisco.
Despite my boy suffering from biker's knee, we were able to rejuvenate and recharge for a few hours while we had breakfast and prepared for the final stretch to SF. And this part of the trek was mostly flat, pretty much all urban riding. So there was nothing too crazy, but it was fun seeing the Halloween decorations as we rode by all the houses.
So we ended up needing a couple more hours of charging in order to make it. We were about 2 hours out, and we clutched almost 2 hours at the Burger King before we got kicked out. With remarkable luck, my bike ended up dying at the very top of the last hill to get to our Airbnb in San Francisco. If the Burger King manager had kicked us out even like 10 minutes earlier, my bike would have died at the bottom of the hill, which would have taken at least 2 hours to physically push up.
It felt completely unreal, but we had finally made it to our spot in San Francisco.
I almost couldn't believe my eyes, but I was on cloud 9, knowing that we actually did it. We really pulled up to the bay with style on the e-bikes. Not gonna lie, felt kinda cool and special once realizing that we're the only DJs touring in SF who came through on human-powered transportation. Some might call us eco-conscious kings. We were both elated knowing we had a whole day of cooling and exploring around the city before the big function at Monarch. First thing we did was hop on the whips and head towards the Golden Gate. It was a trip riding across the bridge, but totally worth it to peep the views of the city that we worked so very hard to come skate and share our music with. It was especially surreal to realize that we actually manifested the cover art on the flyer in real life. With so many people questioning if it was possible, and even questioning our sanity, it felt amazing to know just what we were capable of when we put our mind to something. This trip showed me just how resilient we can be, and it served as a reminder that in the end, it's all gonna work out okay, as long as there's U-Haul present. Needless to say, the show was a slapper. Thanks to the homies who came out to support and chop it up about how the great shred across California went down. After my set, I took a seat to relax and reflect. Shortly after, club security was tapping on my shoulder, saying they're gonna have to kick me out if I couldn't keep my eyes open. Boy, if only they knew what we'd just been through.
The dopest design? Yo, the chillest DJs? I'm throwing this on.
Skate the states, you dig me? We did that shit. Big ups, fam. Shout out everyone rocking with us on the journey. Thank you for all the love. I'm proud to say that we made it happen. Thanks to you, gang.
It was easily one of the hardest things I've ever done, but it was also one of the most amazing experiences I've ever had. Getting the opportunity to take myself out of my comfort zone and experience music, nature, friendship, and community with the homie Drew is an experience I will never forget. And I probably won't be trying to replicate it anytime soon. That shit was insane. Even though it was hard to say goodbye and we just barely secured the rental in time, we both felt the journey reminded us that life is just a choose-your-own-adventure game. And with enough determination and optimism, anything can be achieved. Or maybe it's just delusion at this point, I don't know. But what I do know is that this was the best road trip ever, and I'm so happy I could embark on this journey with my friend Duke.
We got the sport beans now? Oh, so we got the sport beans.